Chapter 10, Graphical User Interfaces, Part 3. So a common programming error is to modify the parameter types in the implementing method. So with the interface action listener, it requires that you create a method called action performed that returns void and accepts an action event as an argument. So you must declare a method. When you implement that interface, you must declare a method that is exactly as specified in the interface. So if you attempt to implement an action performed method that does not accept a parameter, that will be an error. It's also common to forget to attach the action listener, or the listener. So if you forget to add the listener to whatever component it is that you want to respond to events, that will also be an error. Processing text input. Dialog boxes allow for the user to type in text input, and this is a pretty typical way to get input from the user in a GUI program. It's important to remember to supply a width for the text field, because otherwise you won't be able to see it. You have to say how wide it is. So when we create the text field, we add that width as an argument. Notice final int field width equals 10. Final JText field rate field equals new JText field width. So that's specifying a JText field with a width of 10. To add a label to a button, sometimes this is useful to explain what's going on with the button. Sometimes a label is helpful to explain what's going on with a text field. So if you want to add a label to the left of it, such as JLabel rate label equals new JLabel interest rate will appear next to that text field. That's very useful because it gives more information to the user. Also, you might want to add a button that indicates what action is going to be performed, such as add interest. As you can see in the code below in the gray box, double rate equals double.parseDouble rate field.get text. That's to get the input out of the rate field text box. The text in text box is a string, so if we want to use that as a number, we have to convert it, and that's what double.parseDouble does, converts a string to a double. Double interest equals account.getBalance times rate divided by 100. So that's going to calculate what the interest would be. Account.deposit interest, so we are adding the interest to the balance in our account object. Result label.setText balance colon plus account.getBalance. So we are displaying what the balance would be after adding the interest. Here's an example. Again, as with the other examples, I encourage you to get this running in NetBeans. You may get the investment frame 2.java from the Student Companion website. You can also type it up. There's a lot of value, I believe, in typing up code because it helps. Frequently people will make typos, and that will help you with your debugging skills. It will also help you work methodically through each line of code rather than just copying it. Here's the second section showing the action listener and the code for your create button. Text areas. Create multi-line text areas with a JTextArea object, which is different from a text field. A text field is only one row, and a text area can be multiple rows. Notice that we indicate, instead of the width, we indicate the rows and columns. How many rows is it going to be? That's the height. And how many columns? That's the width. We can append to a text area, so we can add to the end of it. Notice this code in gray, textArea.append account balance plus the escape sequence for a new line that will put each account balance on its own line. And then we can set it editable to false if we don't want the user to be able to modify directly the text area. JText field and JText area are part of the JText component. Without a knowledge of inheritance, we can just kind of gloss right over this. The append method will add those values to the end of the JText area, and if we want to add scroll bars, we can use JScrollPane. JScrollPane, scroll pane equals new JScrollPane text area. So we are providing text area to the constructor for the JScrollPane. And again, here's an example for investment frame 3, which uses a JText field as well.